Next on Broadway Profiles, Staying Woke. Elizabeth Stanley from Jagged Little Pill is here to talk about what it takes to play a stay-at-home mom turned opioid addict. Plus, from Hamilton to Dylan, he went from Broadway's biggest role to one of the most anticipated shows of the season. You'll get to know one of Broadway's hottest rising stars, Austin Scott. And 6 reigns supreme. We'll get to know the cast of the new pop musical about the 6 ex-wives of Henry VIII. All that and so much more on this edition of Broadway Profiles, presented by Broadway.com. Welcome to Broadway Profiles. I'm your host, Tamsen Fadal. You know, Jagged Little Pill continues to rock the Broadway stage with the Grammy-winning songs of Alanis Morissette, and it tackles some of the biggest headline-making issues of our era. Like this, a seemingly perfect stay-at-home mom secretly addicted to opioids, a tragic and increasingly too familiar story. And it's really an incredible and emotionally draining role. I had the chance to talk with Elizabeth Stanley about how she prepared to play a suburban addict. Take a look. Talk a little bit about your role in Jagged Little Pill.
So I play Mary Jane Healy, aka MJ, who is a bit of a super mom, who's really concerned with making sure everyone thinks that she's got it all together. But she's really struggling with some really dark things, and I think it all comes to a head. She is a survivor of sexual assault from about 20 years ago, and then also in this current moment, she is addicted to opioids, self-medicating for some really deep pain that is undealt with.
Now, you went and actually did some research with narcotics meetings, right? Open meetings. What was that like for you?
It felt vulnerable for me just because I felt a little bit like an intruder, even though it's an open meeting. I didn't want to seem voyeuristic about it, so I felt really grateful that people were so open and welcoming.
Sure.
It's really eye-opening when you see how many meetings are there for that just in the New York City area. It's a lot.
I recommend getting your heart trampled on to anyone. Yeah. I recommend walking around naked in your living room. Yeah.
So you guys started in Boston, right?
Yeah.
And coming to New York. So what was that like starting back then in Boston? Did you know, we have a hit, and it's just gonna be a matter of time before it hits Broadway?
No, I feel like you never know. Anytime you perform something for a huge audience for the first time, it's like, oh, what? But the reaction from the audience with this show was unlike anything I'd experienced before because of the Alanis fans.
I know you've met her. Did she give you advice on your character or give you some words of wisdom that we see on stage every night?
She's like an angel human being. She's so wonderful. She's just warm and kind and really, a true artist. I think she's into the collaboration and learning from each other and seeing what we can find.
Girl from the North Country, the musical inspired by the songs of Bob Dylan. It officially opens this month on Broadway. And the show is peppered with some of Dylan's greatest hits, but it's mostly carried by gritty, deep tracks. And North Country also features some of the great rising stars of Broadway, including Austin Scott.
There's a slow train around the bend. Slow train.
So I played Joe Scott. He's a boxer. Society, the world has not been very kind to him. He's been dealt some pretty bad cards. And you see him in the story just kind of picking up and trying to piece his life back together and find out a way forward. Slow Train is the first song that I sang, and it's this beautiful montage. It's actually Slow Train and then License to Kill, so it's 2 songs. And it's just a beautiful way of just kind of reflecting on Joe's past a little bit, and you get to find out just a little bit about him in that. So it's a really beautiful, beautiful number. And then I get to sing little snippet of What Can I Do For You, which is another incredible song. And then Hurricane, which is this like powerhouse, amazing storytelling piece that, you know, Connor and Lucy and everyone has just staged so brilliantly to you know, complement Dylan's music, and it's a really cool piece.
And so Patty calls the cops, and they arrive on the scene with the red lights flashing in the hot New Jersey night.
Dylan is a genius. When he first, you know, hit the scene in the 60s, I think people heard his music, and they heard obviously great music, but they also heard themselves. They heard, you know, what they were feeling, what they were thinking, you know, and it gave them, I think, kind of like almost a rallying cry, you know, and it really brought people together at a time when that was crucial. And I think over the years, people have just continued to see and hear themselves in his work. Connor McPherson is also a genius, and he has picked, I think, the perfect songs to do what he intends to do, which I think is use Dylan's music to kind of highlight moods and emotions and circumstances, you know, almost as if like if these characters had a soundtrack to their life. That's kind of what it feels like to me.
If you're looking for a brand new show, then you gotta see Six, one of the hottest tickets in town. Broadway's newest West End transfer is playing to sold-out houses. Six is a pop music spectacular about the 6 wives of Henry VIII.
It's unlike anything you've ever seen before from the moment that curtain opens. It's like a big pop rock concert. But we're also teaching you a history lesson.
It's exploded. So I think sometimes I do have to take a step back and be like, wow, look at the beauty of Six and what it is doing all over the world right now.
And it's changing. Like
Yeah.
it's just blown up so rapidly, and like the gospel has just like spread because it's so infectious and positive and like inspiring. It's really, really cool to be a part of something like that.
Everybody knows that we used to be Six.
We've also got exclusive access behind the scenes at Six. One of the stars, Abby Mueller, is taking us backstage with her video blog.
Yes, Queen. It's another exciting week in the Queendom. We're going to introduce you properly to the Queens and our amazing creative team, stage management. We're here at the audiologist to get some foam injected into our ears. I just got mine done. It's totally nuts because it's our first day of rehearsal for Six, the musical on Barrington Square. It's all happening.
To catch all of Abby's blog entries and more exclusive content, head on over to Broadway.com. Star-crossed lovers, rival gangs, darker and grittier than ever before. West Side Story is back on Broadway, and we spoke to the actress who plays Anita, Jazenia Ayala.
It's such an iconic role and a huge dream role of mine. So when I got the call about doing this, I had a panic attack. You know, such beautiful, legendary women have done it, and so stepping into those shoes feels like almost too big for me. The beauty of it is because it is such a different production, and because it is such a different take, that I was able to make it my own. It's today. We could walk out of the theater and look like normal people on the street. So I think that it allows especially the youth of today to see themselves in this. I've had, you know, fans come to stage door and just like young kids who are crying and see themselves in us. It's such a special show. It's the first show where I saw such strong Latina women in it, and also like my community being represented, and so it's just really special, and I carry it very deep within me.
Nearly 40 years ago, a soldier's play gave rise to some of the biggest stars of our time. Now a new generation of stars in the making. We're going to get to know one of the fresh new faces of the revival of A Soldier's Play. In a little bit later, it's a run by Fruiting. We'll go inside the rehearsal room for a sneak peek at the Broadway musical adaptation of Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and you're watching Broadway Profiles, presented by Broadway.com. We've talked a lot recently about the revival of A Soldier's Play. It features some top talent like Blair Underwood and Jerry O'Connell. But when it debuted off Broadway nearly 40 years ago, A Soldier's Play featured a handful of unknowns at the time. Actors like Denzel Washington, Samuel L. Jackson, and current returning star David Alan Grier. And that's what's so interesting about live theater. You never know when you're going to get to see one of the megastars of tomorrow. We got to know the man who plays Private First Class Melvin Peterson in A Soldier's Play. He is Nnamdi Asomugha, and he is tonight's fresh face.
I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana, but moved to Los Angeles when I was 3. But from the time I was 8 months, I was flying back and forth to Nigeria. It was very important for my parents that we always went back. Their parents were there, their brothers and sisters, and things like that. I started in the NFL as a free safety, so that's a completely different position from cornerback, which I was moved to. So I had to learn a brand new position when I got to the NFL. And I had to learn it on the most difficult place at the time to play that position, which was with the Oakland Raiders. At the end of my second year, into my third year, it really started to click. It was just like completely gratifying, I think, for me, because I saw the journey of what it took to get to that point. I was probably in the middle of my career in the NFL when I started to think, what should the next avenue be? And I thought initially that it was going to be in broadcasting, but then started to fall in love with acting just by doing commercials and getting encouragement from people in the business to continue to pursue it. That's when I knew that this was going to be something that I was going to try when I finished playing, the end of 2013-2014 season. For a lot of people in the business, you don't see a football player and think vulnerability. The first instinct isn't, let me hire that football player to play this vulnerable character, because the thought is there's no way they're going to reach it. You have to work at it like anything else. I started taking classes and I just started to find other ways to open up and be as vulnerable and as open an actor as possible. It's an honor to be in A Soldier's Play. It's not often that you get a play where you've got on Broadway a group of 10 or so African-American men that can look at each other and laugh and have fun and really talk about things that are very difficult within the race. Just to be a part of it with people that are seasoned veterans that have been doing it their whole lives and that I could learn from. You know, it's all been very impactful for me, and I think I'm just very blessed to be a part of it.
Hey Siri, how do I make a delicious, nutritious meal?
Are you looking for a delicious, nutritious meal that's easy to make?
Yes, lay it on me.
Well, today I'm going to show you how to make chicken fricassee with roasted summer vegetables. Another super simple recipe from the Easy Peasy Kitchen.
Hey.
Easy peasy, this recipe, tried and true.
Mrs. Doubtfire the musical opens on Broadway this spring, starring Tony nominee Rob McClure in the role made famous by Robin Williams back in 1993. We got a look inside the rehearsal room for a sneak peek at what you can expect when Mrs. Doubtfire arrives on stage this month.
Easy peasy. Should it smell like burnt rubber? Easy fire in the hole! Fire on the hill!
And there is still so much more to talk about on this edition of Broadway Profiles. She went from the soccer field to the Broadway stage. When we come back, we're talking to one of the rising stars of Chicago about why she's just gotta dance. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and you're watching Broadway Profiles. David Byrne's American Utopia has come and gone, but it's not gone for good. Let's send it back to the newsroom and Broadway.com's editor-in-chief, Paul Wontorek, with that story and more. Paul.
It's true, Tamsen. David Byrne, who became an unlikely Broadway leading man with the 4.5-month run of his theatrical concert American Utopia, is ready to burn down the house once again. The hit show will be back at the Hudson Theater starting September 18th. So get your tickets early this time before it sells out. Speaking of sellouts, Hamilton continues to be one of the hottest tickets on Broadway. We recently learned that Lin-Manuel Miranda's Tony Award-winning hip-hop history lesson will hit movie theaters in 2021. Disney scooped up the rights to release a filmed performance of the musical's original cast, including Miranda as Hamilton. So if you're willing to wait for it, Hamilton is going to be easier to see than ever before. Finally, I'm leaving you with a hot tip of a stage production happening far away from Broadway. For now, 6-time Tony Award winner Audra McDonald is gearing up to play Tennessee Williams' iconic heroine Blanche Dubois in a new staging of A Streetcar Named Desire at Williamstown Theater Festival in Massachusetts this summer. Under the direction of Slave Play's Robert O'Hara, this revival will also star Bobby Cannavale as Stanley and Carla Gugino as Stella. It runs June 30th through July 19th at the popular Summer Theater. But could a New York transfer be next? Stay tuned. That's it for me. For all the buzz every day, be sure to visit Broadway.com.
Chicago on Broadway is always a must-see when you're in New York City. And after more than 2 decades, the hit musical still features some of the best dancers on the Broadway stage. We talked to one of the standouts from the ensemble, Mary Claire King, about why she's just gotta dance.
Hi, my name is Mary Claire King. I grew up in a small city called Columbus, Indiana, not Ohio. I first started dancing when I was super young, like 4 or 5. My best friend Sarah Walt was doing it, so I wanted to be with her. But turns out the first year, I couldn't make it through the class because it was during my nap time, so I actually had to bail in the first year. And I came back the next year and I made it through that time. For most of my young life, I really took a departure and I played travel soccer for over 10 years. So I also peppered in basketball, I ran hurdles and track. I tried everything except for swimming. And I didn't really get back to dance until my second year of high school. I was always in a professional children's choir, actually, so I basically came out of the womb singing. We took a trip to New York City when I was in 6th grade, and I was in love with the art form. I was so blown away by the choreography and the spectacle of it. It took a few more years, but eventually I hung up the cleats in the middle of high school to pursue theater. I'm 5'10", and so when I walk into a room, people are assuming that I was a strong dancer, but I was so behind on technique. So I basically spent my summer leading up to my freshman year cramming ballet with one of my teachers in my hometown. I came back to this city for a brief period of time before graduation, and I auditioned for the non-union First National Tour of Catch Me If You Can, and I got it. It was the best day of my life. I'll never forget getting that call. I started running. I just couldn't stop running. I was so excited. I was calling my mom and I was running down the streets of New York. It was the highest excitement I'd ever experienced in my life. In terms of Chicago, it's like a really special show for me. When I was about 17, I fell in love with the movie and I just wanted to play Velma Kelly my entire life since that point. And last month I got to make my Velma Kelly debut, which was so exciting. Since that time, I've been really excited to immerse myself in Fosse choreography and this style of show. It's really, really special that I'm now a part of this legacy.
I'm Tamsen Fadal, and you're watching Broadway Profiles. History being made in the off-Broadway revival of Rock of Ages. Glee's Dot Marie Jones is taking over as the owner of the Bourbon Room. She's the first woman to play that role, and we talked to her about it.
My wife and I went and saw it in Vegas at least 20 times, and we just love it. And so we had seen it once in New York 6-7 years ago. And then we were back in January, and we were gonna go to a different show, and it's let's go to Old Faithful, because we know we'll have a good time. I had just wrote a note to Duncan Stewart, who cast the show. I said, Duncan, it's been a dream to play Dennis. Like 4 days later, I got an email from Duncan saying that they were putting in an offer for me. I'm the only woman that's ever played the role of Dennis Dupree as Dennis Dupree. I'm not Denise, I'm playing it as Dennis. And so I'm stoked and I'm excited and I just want to do it justice. I love the challenge because in television and in films, you get do-overs. Like if you screw up, you're like, oh, dang it, we'll do it over. There's no do-overs in theater, which I learned.
And that's going to do it for us. Until next time, I'm Tamsen Fadal, and you're watching Broadway Profiles.